Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is John Boy. I'm your host, John Francis Fahey. Joining me as ever, the pinnacle in perfection and perversion. It is one Aaron Joseph Peter. Hey! I'm introducing Aaron.
Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. Computer is talking, not me.
Hi.
I would like some too. May I have a slice?
ChatGPT's getting jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Aaron Pita. I am not an AI.
No,
No.
not yet.
Fingers crossed. To my right.
My
your
left
is Burt Reynolds.
Was you from New Zealand? Are you from New Zealand?
That was terrible.
He got Burt Reynolds on his shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, not everybody can see that.
Yeah.
Well, fucking watch it on YouTube.
No. We're
All right, it's Matt Brousseau.
Thank you.
Squirt Reynolds,
Squirt Reynolds, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
which is mostly P.
Well, I don't mind.
Hey,
It goes in my mouth. I don't care.
you got to look out for number one, pal.
You said.
That's right.
Fellas, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
I'm grand.
Oh, good.
I'm fucking grand.
Great.
We are, of course, closing out T-shirts, folks. Last few left on Etsy. I don't know if they're even gone. Some of them might be gone forever.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
I know. Ramon's design, I think we have maybe one double XL left, and I believe with the Hard Pipe Hitters Union we have a couple smalls, and that's about it. So do the right thing, and then we will have new shirts shortly. Joe and Jesse are going to be making us in the classic logo.
I love that.
It's very exciting.
It is.
And of course, join us for a Patreon extra episode per week.
Won't you?
Jesse told me she really liked the last episode with all the random shit we talked about.
Well, I think that's what people pay for, is to really hear about us.
Yeah, they want to dive deep into the viscera,
Duodenum area.
Duodenum, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Sure. It was really fun, and we answered a bunch of questions. If you want join the Patreon, you of course can message us with cool stuff, which our listeners do all the time. And not only that, they got a nifty little Discord going over there where they share the most wonderful things on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're little sickos.
Snapple.
They're little. Yeah, Snapple.
Long Island product.
It's made from the most wonderful thing on earth.
My grandmother lived right next to that
The Snapple
building.
Oh.
And I always wondered if the Snapple lady was actually in there.
Just
Nice.
writing on top.
Just tore
on the
the
bottom of
country.
the caps.
Yeah. Everything
Yeah.
she knew. Yeah.
Bees are all nymphomaniacs.
My husband can't pleasure me.
Snapple facts.
Help, please. I'm stuck.
Elevators go both up and down.
I think Snapple just really nailed the American version of the fortune cookie.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it already kind of is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fortune cookie is not even a Chinese.
Do you have a Snapple fact that you can remember off the dome?
Yes, I want.
Hold on, wait, Matt, do you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
That's so funny that we all have one off the dome. That's how good a marketing campaign that is. Aaron, you first.
Las Vegas is further west than Los Angeles.
What? Weird tectonic plates
No.
shifting.
I think it's just that in the shape of California, the lower part of the state goes eastward.
It's an optical illusion.
Yeah, if you look at Matt, you've got a map of California right there
California.
on your glass,
Oh, neat.
and that star is kind of close to where Vegas is.
That's true, Aaron.
And-
Oh, yeah, the land shifts in.
yeah.
That's
does.
fucking
It
cool,
does.
man.
It does.
That's fucking cool.
I think it was either Las Vegas or Tahoe, but either way, I think they're both.
Yeah, they're very close. Matt, what's your fact?
If you get a call from 1-800-GAY dudes, it's for your dad.
God damn it.
They knew it back then.
Right, when do you think it started? Do you think
I thought you had a real one
No,
ready.
I did.
My one is armadillos always have 4 offspring, and they're always all the same gender, if you believe in that, which we don't.
No, well, that's I learned from armadillos not to.
Yes.
Yeah, my other fact was the gender is a myth.
Yeah.
The Snapple
But gender fluid, I like.
is inside the bottle.
Let me tell you, pal.
Made from the best stuff on earth.
That's right.
Gender fluid. Gulp.
All right, Matt, you want to weigh us in on what the fuck is going on here?
So I got something. I got a 2-part I'm going to do in 1 part, and I don't mean it's going to be 3 hours either.
Wait, you got a 2-part that you're going to do in 1 part?
Yes.
Not medically possible.
Okay.
Believe in it.
I believe in it.
I want to talk about, well, you know what? I'm going to let a big fan of our show, a man that we enjoy, James Burke, start us off with a little.
Oh.
I love that he listens to the show.
Every time I meet the biggest, strongest man in town, he comes to me crying and he says, James Burke loves your show.
Yeah. Yeah, he writes.
Who's the biggest, strongest man in town?
Oh, it's just a thing Trump says whenever he's telling a lie. He goes, the biggest, strongest guy came to me crying.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, he wanted to suck my cock.
Yeah, he was like, I'd suck your dick.
Yeah, Purple Heart veteran from the Civil War came.
Loki from Muskogee came out of nowhere. And
Loki of Asgard came to me and said that I shouldn't kneel.
All right, so today's episode is about invention.
Oh, no.
And so I'm going to let James Burke just start us off with a little thinker.
And a stinker.
James Burke from Connects.
Take a look at the room you're in, and above all, at the man-made objects in that room that surround you. The television set, the lights, the phone, and so on. And ask yourself what those objects do to your life just because they're there. Go ahead.
Go on, then.
Ominous stuff.
Yeah.
So for the people who don't know the Patreon, I've been going through episodes of Connections and breaking them down for you guys. Now, the first season, I haven't been able to do anything with the first and the last episode of the first season because the first one introduces the show and the last one kind of says, what do we do in the future? But in this episode, we can now touch on those.
Great.
So, we're going to briefly talk about just invention itself. So Burke says, before man was doing anything, making anything, man would have noticed change and constants. Seasons change. People growing, people maturing, people dying. These things are happening in a sort of rhythm almost. Someone made a tool, and the act of having the tools changed the way the hands are shaped, the way our bodies move. Having all of these things.
Okay. Like, for example, would you say like
how you have webbed feet?
Yeah.
But then once you start doing all your foot modeling, then your appendages change. You know what I mean? You got to catch up with the times. You know what I mean? You can't have those.
I don't think that's what he's getting at.
Yeah.
But you're saying that, are you talking about over the course of evolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
yes.
Cooking food changed the way that we cooking food allowed us to basically pre-digest the food, so we didn't have to spend as much time chewing.
Sure.
So that allowed us more time to develop society, or even our jaws changed because we didn't have to chew so much. So that allowed us to have speech,
right?
Or us
and bigger brain size.
Getting actual with our fingers, just being able to manipulate things and move things around in different ways.
Right, but the tools didn't do that. That allowed us to make the tools.
Right, but
did one inform the other? Is basically the idea.
Right.
Okay, I think I'm picking up.
Don't overthink it.
Okay, I'm good at not doing that.
And of course, as the world changed, it got faster, and all of these pieces of change are interconnected, and depending on these connections, failure of one of these pieces could result in a chain reaction with terrible results and destroy the other pieces.
That never happened.
Our inventions themselves trigger change.
Yes.
And so he goes back and he says the first one, the plow, the first major trigger of change, the plow, right? Because of the plow, we could have more grain. Then the extra grain creates a surplus in population.
Yes.
And then more grain, there's even more grain after that. And then once we have all of this surplus grain, we now can store it, but we need to store it. So the potter's wheel becomes important to build these jars to put the grain in. And then once we have all these jars full of grain, well, you got to know who owns what.
You got to have an accounting system.
So all of a sudden, writing becomes important because they need to mark off who owns what grain.
Sumeria.
Yeah. John's oats. His wild oats.
I think we know.
I think he's sowing them.
Yeah.
And also a big factor in that, too, is having people stay stationary because the farms are there.
Exactly.
You can now have a city, and yes.
Then creates borders, which then creates wars for those resources, etc.
Right. So they start irrigating the land, which leads to having to mark off the plots, which leads to math and engineering. And that leads to architecture. And then they begin to be able to, because they're in the same place and they're noticing the changes, they can predict when the flooding is.
Right.
And once they're able to predict the flooding, now they can make a calendar. And once they have a calendar, then they can have things like taxes owed, and you can gain the kingdom itself can start to gain money. And then once the kingdom has money, it needs to protect the money, so it needs to make weapons.
Yeah.
So there are the paths of invention. He says that they zigzag along. It's long. It's not usually a straight line. No. And there are different triggers. Some of the triggers he goes through. Religion. So monks that needed to wake up for mass before the sun was up. So the alarm clock was something that they invented. There was a water alarm. So they would fill it up with water at night, and then by the time it got down, the water had run through the system, eventually
splash on
it would ring a bell. Warfare also triggers change.
You know, I also heard of a cool alarm clock style. Was that they would put. They knew the time how long a candle would burn.
Yes.
And they would put a nail in the candle, and the candle would sit like on a metal plate. And so when the wax melted, the nails would fall and clang, 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 clang. And
Yeah, nice.
That's very good. Yeah, very similar.
Never would have thought of that.
That's a good one.
Warfare triggers change in invention. Cannons changed the way that towns were built because the towns had to use the cannons to defend themselves.
Yes.
So they started being built with more triangular corners. I guess just corners themselves. So once they redesigned the towns, they needed surveyors, and surveyors developed instruments to survey the town, and these instruments were used by people on boats and to make maps. And once we had maps, then travel was a lot easier. Also, the screwdriver, he points out, was originally created to screw knights into their armor.
Oh, wow.
Another one, accident. Accident is also a big trigger of change and invention. 17th century Germany, Guericke is spinning his sulfur ball to see if it's magnetic. As he's spinning it, a spark jumps off the sulfur ball onto him, and
matches.
And it leads to electricity jumping from different things. The environment also does triggers change. The Great Freeze Up in 17th century Europe helped lead to the chimney.
The little ice age.
Yes.
The baby ice age.
The hot weather in 19th century Florida led to a doctor creating air conditioning because he thought that heat was causing malaria.
And I think a doctor soon after that was having sex with one of his dead patients.
Luckily,
thanks to air conditioning. Otherwise, that thing would have stunk.
Zigzag, yeah. Sometimes an invention from one field will switch to the other field. The son of an organ maker, noticing organs being run, and these are musical organs, run on a system of wheels or pegs on a wheel. And as the wheel would turn, these pegs would hit different parts of the organ, making basically automatic music. And so what he did is he made a loom that ran with that same similar system, and it became the Jacquard loom. And you could make patterns now, which you could make patterns with a machine instead of by hand, which would always turn out like mess. And lastly, the big one, wealth.
It's a good one.
Penniless Scottish inventor, the Earl of Dundonald, he was trying to make tar, and he was boiling coal, and it blew up. And the flammable vapor of the coal is what blew up, and that led to domestic gas. And also Edison's light bulb.
So did he get rich?
He did not.
Probably died.
So. No, he was a fucking terrible inventor. Everything he did by accident.
I don't have the foggiest clue what I'm doing.
So now we're going to get to part one here. I'm going to talk about a man named Thomas Midgley Jr. Midgley Jr. Thomas Midgley Jr. M-I-D-G-E-L-E.
Mm-hmm.
And this part will be in more of a straight line. Okay? So I've got a few different sources. One is his memoir, a biographical memoir of Midgley by Charles Kettering. Charles Kettering, famous American inventor, holder of 186 patents, over 300 applications from portable lighting to incubators to something he tried to fix venereal disease with. I don't remember what it was.
What might it have been, a whale-bone dipped in mercury?
No, that doesn't. Well, that fixes it in the way that it kills the host, I suppose.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go. Didn't say you had to survive it.
Yeah, try fucking after that.
Yeah. 2006 Bulletin for the History of Chemistry by Cameron Giunta. 2017 New Scientist article by Fred Pierce. And a 2023 New York Times Magazine article by Stephen Johnson that gave me the idea for this. Okay, so May 18th, 1889, Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Yeah. Thomas Midgley Jr. is born to... his mother was the daughter of the inventor of the inserted tooth saw, which is just a saw that you put into a machine so you don't have to make a new machine every time.
Oh, I thought it was a tooth saw.
No,
Yeah,
I
me
thought
too.
so. Well, it is a tooth saw, but it's not for teeth.
That's what
It's a saw with teeth.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
The inserted tooth saw.
His mother
Yeah.
invented it.
No, his mother's father.
Oh.
Grandfather.
His own father, Thomas Midgley Sr., was an Englishman, and according to his 1934 obit in the New York Times, he was a bicycle manufacturer, and he moved into rubber manufacturing for most of his life, and he invented one of the earliest removable rims for automobiles. So, family history of invention and English
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah, these rims,
whatever that's worth.
rims come off now.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was a big problem for the bikes, you know? You have to throw the whole bike in the river.
Yeah. Fucking thing.
Now, Thomas, he takes up the inventing bug himself. As a high school baseball pitcher, he found that when he was, instead of having to like spit on the ball for all the spitballs, he found that if he extracted the inner bark of a slippery elm tree, if he took an extract from that, it would actually make the ball act like a spitball without having, do all the spitting.
Uh-oh.
Oh, now slippery elm.
Yeah.
Are you going to get the slippery elm?
The slippery elm is just a tree.
Yeah, but slippery elm extract is good for the throat.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a throat supplement that's in a lot of natural cough drops.
I've heard that.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not like the elm is slippery. Whoa,
No,
hold on to the elm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd probably notice, though.
Never gonna look at me.
He becomes fascinated with the periodic table, and he would carry a copy of it with him for the rest of his life, even though it would change at least once.
Yeah, it's probably easy to carry around with
Yeah.
4 elements on it.
They're all mercury.
Number 6 is surprise.
He goes to Cornell University from 1907 to 1911.
Oh, fancy lad.
He creates one of the first ever student aviation clubs. They had no plane or even a glider, but he was just...
An enthusiast of the idea.
yeah.
Paper airplanes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, pretty early time, 1907, 1908,
Yeah, well.
Aviation Society. It'd be great to get up there.
Yeah, I'm in the time travel society at my college.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great?
He graduates with a degree in mechanical engineering, and in 1911 he gets a job in Dayton, Ohio.
Hey!
Big
Yeah.
city.
Yeah, Dayton, Ohio at the time is arguably the researchingest place in America.
Really?
The research in this place?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Wright brothers are there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The National Cash Register Company is there. The Cash Register Company was like this huge invention because, one, the employees wouldn't be able to steal as easily.
Yeah, they'd have to figure out one button.
No, but there would be like a receipt of them opening it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like, Matt,
Yeah. Stall.
open.
Yeah. Empty.
Everything okay? Question mark?
I think there's a bug in this machine. Yeah, I think Dayton, Ohio, and Kitty Hawk North Carolina, both
Claim
the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
I think one's the birthplace of flight, and the other is
First in aviation.
First in aviation.
Mm.
Get a better slogan.
Because they come from there, but they flew for the first time in the
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
Yes.
Fucking
And the
losers.
Wright brothers were also bicyclists.
They certainly were. And they would become good friends with Thomas Midgely Jr.
Is that right?
That is correct. And they would, in his obituary, they would say he was a proud friend.
Oh,
Yeah, so they probably talked about like.
I'm a proud friend of
tires
you
and-
boys.
I'd love to get up there, fellas.
I don't know how.
I tell you,
I started the aviation club in college before you guys even did it.
Yeah.
I think I should be on that list.
Yeah, we used to run around the football field with our arms spread out and just go.
I feed my kid. I say, "Here comes the airplane."
Yeah.
With a spoon.
You know,
But
yeah, what you guys did is cool too.
Yeah.
I guess.
So he works at the National Cash Register Company. He's a draftsman, designer, in Inventions Department number 3. This is a new thing that people were doing back then. They would have a department for inventions,
Right.
taking the idea from Edison, as opposed to just like some guy randomly inventing stuff.
Yeah.
You'd be hired to do that.
Now that's where you need your crazy Eddies.
Yes.
yeah,
We were talking before we started
Yes.
recording about the motif of the sales guy that is crazy.
Crazy Gideon here.
Crazy
in LA.
Gideon,
Crazy
crazy Eddie. But like the idea is just
My prices are so low. I must be insane.
he's nuts.
Fucking maniac.
Like they've given the keys to a fucking lunatic, and he is running the company out of business.
He slashed
So you got to
prices.
show up.
Yeah.
So it's telling the public like, listen, you need to take advantage of this.
You got to rip this guy off.
This very handicapped man.
You better come and take these TVs before I start shooting people.
He's nuts and he's impulsive but in inventions, you do kind of need that.
Yeah, you got to think outside the bun.
Yeah, and you need guys who are given the time and space to do that.
Right.
Yeah, and I have had some personal experience with
Inventing?
with crazy people.
No, yeah.
You too, huh?
Yeah, you did stand up in LA, you said?
No, but I mean crazy people that then had patents.
Oh.
Your boss, your old boss.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying not to get too specific, but yeah.
I think you've talked about it on the show before.
Well, maybe, but
They're not going to know.
but like the whole family was they were affected by bipolar but they would have some patents that made kind of life-changing money.
Sure.
But it also came along with a bunch of silly nonsense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying.
You got.
I think there's a lot of swings, but when they hit,
Boy, they knock it out of the park.
yeah.
Is that a porno thing? A lot of swings?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah.
So he works at the National Cash Register Company
Cha-ching.
for a little bit. And then he leaves to work with his father improving tire and tread design on wheels.
I recently purchased a new set of tires, so I can understand.
Yeah. His father had a tire company around this time. And quickly there, he becomes the chief engineer at his father's place, and he starts working with automobiles. He invents a hydrometer to indicate whether the car had enough alcohol in it for cooling. He had these. It was like two little balls, and if there was the right amount, the balls would one would float and one would sink. If there's the wrong amount, they wouldn't. And then
Because alcohol was used as coolant before modern radiator fluid?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They hated to see it go. They put their little martinis.
They used olives as the balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was 26 years old when he invented this.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So at age 27, he returns to Dayton to work for Charles Kettering at the Dayton Electronics Laboratories Company, aka
I feel
Delco.
like I know that name.
Yes.
Yes, Delco. Delco would be very quickly be bought by General Motors and become a subsidiary.
AC Delco. It's still a parts manufacturer.
Yes. His first job at Delco is to finish development of a hydrometer to indicate the amount of battery charger in a farm lighting set. Very easy thing for him to do. Basically, what it would do is a lead acid battery. The charge of it can be estimated from the density of the sulfuric acid solution used as the electrolyte in the battery. And the hydrometer can read the gravity of the solution.
Interesting.
So it was, I barely understand what I'm saying.
It's basically just like the fluid left.
Not the fluid left, but the I don't know if it's density, the gravity of
Got it. Yeah. How heavy it is.
Yes, something like that. And very simple thing for him to do. He does that. He finishes it. That's the first thing he does. And he goes back to Kettering and he says, "What do you want me to do next, boss?" And Kettering describes this scenario in the biographical memoir of Midgely thusly. He says, "That simple question and the answer to it turned out to be the beginning of a great adventure in the life of a most versatile man. So great did Midgely's love for research prove to be that shortly before his death he said that for those next few years after he asked that question, they were like a story from the Arabian Nights." Basically, Midgely goes on a series of...
A tear
Of inventions?
Yeah. Basically, he spends the next 14 years inventing... two things that we will get to, and also a slew of other things that we don't have time to get to, but two very important things for various reasons.
Slew is a Irish Gaelic word. Comes from slua.
Oh.
I know a horse named Seattle Slew.
You know the horse?
I think it won the Triple Crown.
Cool, man.
Right?
That sounds right.
Man, fuck you.
Out of sight, man.
So
I guess you guys only care about horses when it fucks guys to death, huh?
Or talks.
Yeah. Well, like peanut butter. Peanut butter is used for both those applications.
Don't worry about it.
Line up. So, what Kettering asked Midgely to do is to figure out the problem of engine knock in the automobile industry.
Oh boy, this guy fucked up.
Because the engine knock had stopped. The growth of car usage in America had not peaked, but it had been not growing at the speed that General Motors and car manufacturers wanted to.
And they were blaming engine knock?
Yes.
Really?
Because the thing about engine knock, what
People kept opening the doors and falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello? It could happen. They're all on Mercury.
No, they're on Earth, John. No, but what they weren't on Mercury. But what Matt will say will explain a lot of stuff about
this man.
So you're taking credit for him doing the profile?
No,
Well,
no.
Matt's actually about to explain everything. Back to you, Matt.
Yeah, he is.
I know.
I'm not. He is.
All right, but I had that great fucking thesis about the knock and the door.
No, it was a joke. I was here.
So engine knock. What engine knock was I mean, Kettering even said at the time, he's like, we weren't even sure what made automobiles work.
Yeah. We were just shaking our heads going, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how engines work.
Yeah. Let me tell you what happens. I get dinosaur blood in me. And then I start a fire. And then we just start going.
go.
And we go.
Yeah.
And eventually we get it to stop. But
Someone keeps knocking.
but somebody keeps knocking. I think it's the engine's biological clock.
Yeah.
Because it's trying to have a baby car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cousin.
Got a lot of good ideas.
So what happens with the engine knock when the car would drive up a hill? The valves would rattle, the cylinder heads of it would knock.
Oh, yeah.
The gearbox would vibrate, the engine would lose power. If they were trying to pass a car at a high speed, these things would happen, and the name comes from the sound it would make, like just a knocking.
Got it.
And the original belief was that the knock in the engine was caused by so they had these new electrical start systems instead of the hand crank that would throttle people. Tear your shoulders out trying to get it. These electrical battery systems with the electrical starters and
Electrolytes.
So the belief was that there was a pre-ignition problem that happened with these electrical systems that was causing the knock. And Midgely...
Premature ignition happens to at least 40% of cars.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. There's a pill for it. But you can't pre-ignite this long.
Yeah, move on.
And so Midgely, he can't see exactly what's happening, so he invents a high-speed camera to take pictures of what's going on in the engine while it's running.
Really? Well, he's like a voyeur.
It's like that dildo cam from back in the day. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Same time frame.
Yeah. Here, sit on this for 5 minutes. Don't make a face. He invented a high-speed camera to view the system as it was happening. He discovered that actually there was an abrupt rise in pressure after the ignition of the spark plug, not before. The fuel was igniting too quickly. The fuel was not high-octane enough.
So what do you do? Start splashing alcohol around?
Well, no. Well, I mean, almost.
Worse.
Yeah.
So Kettering and Midgely both had this idea. They thought about the Mayflower plant. The flowering of the leaves, and even in the winter, they turn red. The leaves turn red. And so they had this idea that it is still something about it turning red. It's still gaining power from the sun, even though there's all this snow. There must be something about red that allows something to control heat in this way. And so Midgely he was looking for
what?
I can hear your fucking beard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's thinking.
I know.
I'm interested. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're in creator mode. I like it.
So Midgely, he can't find a red dye that is at first a red dye that's oil soluble. So he just goes to a local chemical store, which they had in those days, because probably it was like a doctor's office.
Oh yeah,
you know,
crazy Eddie's in there, big time. I swallowed all of it.
Gallbladder out. And he buys iodine, and to their surprise, the iodine stops the knocking. And they test other dyes. And they discover it's not the red. They do a clear iodine solution, and even that works, an ethyl iodine solution.
So what is it?
So it is...
It's just chemically...
Iodine is an element.
Yes. It's just chemically...
It chills it out.
It keeps it from igniting. It's able to keep the heat in without exploding.
Right.
Is my understanding.
Stops that ignition problem you were talking about.
Yeah.
But before they're able to work further on this, the U.S. joins World War I, and Midgely is instead pushed to work on aviation fuel.
Nice.
There were rumors that the Germans at the time were using a synthetic additive in their fuel called cyclohexane. To get higher engine compressions, because you need in order to have a plane engine, it has to be much more powerful than a car engine. So you need.
How come?
Fair. But you need higher engine compressions,
sure,
to be able to have that power. This rumor wasn't true, but Midgely experiments with cyclohexane and with benzene, and he discovers
both very cancerous.
Yes, but he actually creates one of the first synthetic gasolines capable of powering fighter planes.
Wow.
And then he realizes that it's the molecular structure of the fuel, not the physical characteristics of the engine, that is causing the engine knock. And so now he's not a chemist, he's a mechanical engineer, but this gives him the idea. So he starts working with benzene more. And one day he's working with benzene, and a fuse that he's working with blows, and it shoots particles of soft metal into his eye.
Goo!
And he goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, like, I can't take these out because we're going to fucking destroy the eye.
Right, now you just look cool forever.
Yeah, so Midgely, what he does in his inventive brain, he says, Doc, I got an idea.
Big Mac.
Idea.
And he spends the next few weeks bathing his eyeball in purified mercury.
Jesus hell!
And it eventually dissolves the pieces, and he gets his eye
and
back.
the eye works?
Yeah.
Going in full mercury?
Yeah.
Then he's got like a Terminator eye.
Yeah.
I know now why you cry.
It is the mercury.
And so he, between this mercury thing and with the benzene and the fuel, he has this idea. Okay, I need to start going through the periodic table and figure out how to make this fuel, make this engine knock.
Yeah. Because otherwise the Germans will hear us coming from
At this point,
It's a big metronome coming.
Is it the glockenspiel or just the Americans?
The Americans, you can count them with cowbell and everything.
and so he starts just henpecking through the periodic table to find something. He goes through 33,000 different compounds.
Damn.
Different combinations of shit to try to find something. And he would later say that
Can't believe he didn't gas himself along the way.
well, he would later say most of them had no more effect than spinning the Great Lakes. But a new version of the periodic table comes out, and Midgely notices that this one has clusters of elements together in a different combination than the previous ones.
Yeah, they're like on the right are the noble gases. They are put in a way that they are related in some way.
Yeah, they started like going like,
Let's make it.
They say by a
Sudoku thing.
by weight.
yeah.
Well, it's definitely by weight.
The whole thing, yeah, right. But the clusters of yes. And so what he discovers is that certain
Like
clusters,
high school lunch tables. Where
Yeah,
all
yeah. pretty
the cool
much.
kids are on the right.
Yeah.
I mean, and he notices that the cluster of heavy metal seems to work better.
Fucking hell yeah.
You bet it does.
And so he says, fuck it, I'll just go right. He goes right to the heaviest metal. He goes to lead, and he creates a compound called tetraethyl lead, and he mixes that with gasoline at a ratio of one part tetraethyl lead and 1,300 parts gasoline.
Leaded gasoline.
And he creates leaded gasoline.
We got the lead out.
Yeah. So then he definitely went nuts.
Well, he goes on a national sales he starts selling it. He starts going to people and goes like, this is the shit.
Thing. Your kids are gonna have extra arms.
And he says the title of it is ethyl. This is ethyl. This is not leaded gasoline. This
A woman's
is ethyl.
name.
Yes.
Margaret.
And so from this, Kettering points out in this biography, he says, Midgely demonstrated talents in all three of the important phases of industrial research. 1, original investigation or invention. 2, development and practical usefulness. And 3, selling the thing. And it works. The sales of cars just go through the fucking roof in America. America becomes the drivingest place in the world, I'll tell you that.
One of the drivingest, traffickiest motherfucker.
Like, dude, leaded gasoline, baby.
But Midgely wasn't done. Once he gets back from the whole sales of leaded gasoline,
I'm not nearly done.
he gets back into the lab and he says, "What next?" And Frigidaire was a subsidiary of General Motors as well, and they wanted to expand their operations from the factories to the general public. And also, a lot of the air conditioning used in factories was also exploding.
Oh my God.
Which was an issue.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, because we're trying to make stuff, but we're under attack.
We're being blown up as we're making it.
And it's hot out.
Yes.
Yeah. And the beer ain't cold. And see, I like the beer like real cold.
See, because of all the popularity of your cars, the earth is heating up.
Yeah.
And we need to have some kind of cooling situation.
Yeah. Now the beer is roasting. And it's not the coolest. You know what I mean?
No, it's certainly not. So gas was needed for cooling because
Gasoline or gas?
just gas itself.
gas, a gas.
Because before gas cooling,
You had ice.
you had to have ice, and the U.S. was like, I think we were the largest exporter of ice around the world. And they would just
For real?
they would
Exporter of ice around the world?
Yeah, we'd take ships and we'd go up to the
How fucking much would get there?
a lot.
well they would put a lot of it in sawdust, and that's
double hulled ships and big blocks of ice.
huge. Yeah.
Dude, they would go to the Arctic. And
Where were we getting it from? We were just making ice? And
No,
we're not making it.
it
We
was
couldn't
freezing.
make it.
Cutting it up.
We cut it off of the seashelves.
Yeah. Damn. And the rivers and lakes and shit like that.
You'll probably find like some old like cultures and
Or
tools,
like an alien that could shapeshift.
yeah, or maybe some guy from the Second World War.
Or an Encino Man.
Yeah. And
Man, it'd be cool if Encino Man was Captain America.
sure would.
Savage Avengers. You guys would get it.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
Your kids will love it. So in places like ice manufacturing plants, they were trying to use gas to create ice, basically make a place really cold and make ice in those places. And in 1893, Chicago World's Fair, an ice manufacturing plant exploded when the ammonia it was using ignited. 16
Jesus
people
Christ.
died. Chloromethane was also used in other applications for freezing. It killed dozens of people all over the country anytime it leaked out. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good thing industrial accidents like that don't happen anymore.
No.
Palestine,
Yeah. A lot of things to cover up for H.H. Holmes just slaughtering people.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God, look what happened over there. It's terrible.
Come in my place. It's safe.
Yeah. Now you're in the labyrinth.
The gas won't kill you.
Spider cut a couple of flies.
Frigidaire itself had been using sulfur dioxide, but that caused
Smelled like shit.
vomiting and lung damage, and yeah, it was not a good time. So now again, so Midgely goes back to the periodic table, and instead of henpecking, this time he does what he called fox hunting, and he understands that most elements that remain gaseous at low temperatures were on the right side of the periodic table. And so he zeroes in on fluorine. He knows it's highly toxic, but he combines it with chlorine and carbon, and he makes it safer. Creates a compound called diochlorodiafluoromethane, a.k.a. freon.
Yes. I knew he was going
A
to be the
chlorofluorocarbon.
I knew
right.
he was going to be the daddy of freon. I didn't want to say it, though. Aaron usually gets there before I do. Freon, right? Yeah, Aaron. Freon.
Oh boy!
I gotta let you have some. Okay?
You didn't. I didn't take it though. I let him get there.
You said Freon, right?
No, not until he said freon. Then I said,
Oh, well, what did I step on him with?
I don't know,
Nothing. I said Matt'll get to it.
because you couldn't figure it out.
Dude, I fucking knew it was...
You're like, dude, what gas makes stuff cold? I have no idea.
But I said I knew this guy was gonna... You know what? You're right. You're right.
So he makes a new class of CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. This solves the refrigeration problem. Suddenly, electrical refrigerators are available to anyone who can afford one. By
Fucking
1935,
nuts, man. Like that, dude. That is like downright nutty.
yeah, in less than 10 years, the Frigidaire had sold 8 million refrigerators.
Yeah, and so I mean, how long till it's a household item? Would you say from invention?
I mean,
What year is it?
by 1935, they had sold 8 million. So I'd say by 1935.
Yeah, and I think everyone has a refrigerator by 1950.
Yeah, I would say it's around
probably,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch episodes of Lassie, they have an icebox, but episodes of The Honeymooners, they have a refrigerator.
Oh, that's a good metric. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
I
yeah.
wonder if that's because it's like a city thing too.
It might
Dude,
be a city
certainly
thing.
a city thing. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. You're up in fucking, the
Lassie-ville.
Well, I mean, if you're in Lassyville, you can have a fucking block of ice and a fan.
Yeah.
If you're in fucking the 34th floor of whatever,
I think Lassie would have invented a fucking refrigerator.
if you're in this domestic violence nightmare of the honeymooners.
Yeah.
You got to have some ice to put on a black eye.
That's true, though.
Yeah.
That's
No,
true.
but I would say it took the world by storm.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the coolest guy out there.
Well, I mean, much like, also, that in the automobile, right? Mm-hmm. But so by 35, Frigidaire had sold 8 million refrigerators. Midgely then spends the next years studying the composition of natural and synthetic rubbers, chemistry of vulcanization. He eventually publishes 19 papers on this subject. And
his dad, you said, was already involved in the tire.
yes,
Right?
yes. So it's old family rubber bullshit,
Vulcanization.
Tommy boy. Yeah.
Was his dad Spock?
No, they were brake pads.
He was yes. He was English.
No, I'm crossing over, but
We're crossing over the Tommy Boy /
Yeah.
Star Trek universe.
It's a crossover that's been waiting to happen.
Honestly,
Somehow Rob Lowe's in both?
dude, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, fat guy in a little red shirt. I don't know if this is true. This, I'm going to enter hearsay. But I was told some time ago that the indestructible tire could be made, and then they were just like, in Reed Richards style, let's not do it because it would void all these jobs.
Well, I've heard about that, about the light bulb. There are light bulbs from back in the day that still run.
Oh, I think I'm sorry, go on. Interrupt you.
I think planned obsolescence is a thing in certain industries, but I think with light bulbs, like, I don't know if that's it.
No, that's a tire.
Tire.
Well, if the tire's indestructible, then what does it do to the road? I think it would...
Well, semi-truck tires are solid. They don't have air in them.
Right.
They are solid rubber for that reason. They have to be changed less, and they can just be regrooved.
Right.
I don't think you can have an indestructible tire because friction happens. Like it just wears away.
Right, but what I'm not saying...
I think it saves rubber to have a hollow tire.
Right, but also, doesn't it create a lot more jobs to have it be more disposable? Didn't say the full rubber.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they would do it because it creates jobs, but
I think
it creates profits.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
We'll have to look. We'll get back to you on that.
Okay. So, he
Patreon, folks, for all the answers.
Yeah.
Now, so Kettering would say that Midgely considered these years on the tires his most scientific endeavors, whatever that's worth. Because of Midgely's work, he receives the 4 most important medals for chemical achievement. I have a list of them if that matters.
Probably the 4 most important metals were gold, silver, platinum, uranium.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he receives some honorary doctorates. He becomes the president of the American Chemical Society.
Nice.
He has his lawn on his estate in Columbus, Ohio, was regarded as the best lawn in America. He kept it in such brilliant shape that golf club chairmen would come by and ask him his secrets. The Scott Seed Company used a picture of it for their letterhead. They should probably just, they're like, we did this.
My secret, green paint.
Yeah. He installed a wind gauge on his roof that would ring an alarm if the wind was blowing hard enough to dry out the lawn.
This guy was a fucking suburban dad.
Yeah.
He
get off my lawn, wind.
Yeah. He wired his home phone.
He just wakes up to this ding.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. I'm gonna burn this fucking place to the ground.
4 walls.
I'm gonna dome my house.
He wires his home phone that so he could pick it up and press a series of numbers, and it would turn on the watering system for the yard.
That's wacky,
dude. That's that's 100 years. What year was it? 35?
This would be like 30s.
That's
40s.
70 years ahead of his time.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Who are you calling? Who are you calling at this hour, honey?
It's the future.
The lawn.
The lawn.
I'm calling the lawn jockey. I'm calling the racist lawn jockey out there where I rigged a sprinkler to him.
I'm calling the lawn gnome.
In 1940, he contracts polio and loses the use of his legs.
What an idiot.
Dude, fuck you. People have accidents. What are you saying? He's an idiot. This is the same as the last one.
What year?
1940.
They had the vaccine.
Okay. All right.
Right?
When he's not trying to get,
He's like Roosevelt.
You're right, though. If he's putting mercury in his eye, you should take a fucking vaccine. Yeah.
This guy's a little cavalier with his health.
Yeah, he's a little...
And, putting lead and gasoline.
Keep that in mind. He contracts polio, loses the use of his legs. He responds, he responds with his usual inventiveness. He
becomes the lawnmower man.
Creates Cerebro. And a hover chair.
Where I'm going, I don't need legs.
I'm going to the lawn.
Isn't that right, Charles?
Charles.
He designs a system of pulleys so that he can get in and out of bed by himself, just hoist himself up.
Yeah.
And,
I don't need your help.
Yeah, imagine what a seductive dance that is.
I can do it myself.
I'm coming to bed, darling.
Lower me onto the Sibian, my dear. It runs on leaded gasoline.
Everything above my legs still works.
And won't you mind turning on the air conditioner? It's a bit hot in here.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let's blow the lead around. I'm trying to get the Sibian intoxicated.
You wouldn't believe what she does after a few drinks.
Wild stallions.
San Dimas High School football rules.
That's true.
He was also apparently he was an aspiring poet at times.
Oh God.
In 1944, he finishes his speech to the American Chemical Society, saying, he says, "When I'm gone, I have no regrets to offer," and he ends his speech with a poem, and the final verse of the poem finishes with these two lines: "Let this epitaph be graven on my tomb in simple style. This one did a lot of living in a mighty little while." A month later, he was found dead in his bedroom pulley system.
Oh no! Did he choke himself out?
Publicly, it was ruled an accident, but his assistant, who was called to the scene by Midgely's wife, would later tell a colleague, "That was no accident."
He died with a raging fucking hard
He was
on.
trying to come, right?
Or go.
He was huffing the freon, getting like poppers going.
Yeah.
He was choking himself out.
It was no accident. What does that mean?
The death certificate listed it as suicide.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But
It's a bummer.
what kind of fucked up way did he do it?
Well, I'm guessing he choked himself to death with it. He is hoisted by his own...
What?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Can you imagine what a fucking sight that was to walk into? This guy's fucking like halfway above the bed.
He invented a new way to go.
Good for him, man.
In his obituary, Orville Wright said, "I've been proud to call my friend." And he also said, Orville Wright also said this. He said, "The world has lost a truly great citizen in Mr. Midgely's death." And that second statement I find very interesting, subjectively. And that's something that we will come back to right after this.
We'll be right back, folks. And we're back.
Oh, hi.
The PP boys.
You got some lead in our pencil.
Now, you said this Orville Wright.
Yeah.
Wilbur?
No, not Wilbur.
Orville.
Not a Mr. Ed thing. Orville Wright. He said, "The world has lost a truly great citizen in Mr. Midgely's death." And that's a statement that will become, I would say, part of the discussion. But first, I want to go back to Connections.
Oh, yes.
So we go back to episode 1 of Connections. You know, James Burke he's like meandering through the dark. You're like wondering, what's this English? Is this Englishman lost in New York? Is he allowed to be here?
Yeah. He's acting like he had an edible.
Yeah.
He's like, go around your room. Isn't that shit weird? Look at the phone.
Who made that?
Aren't you scared?
Yeah. What is this?
Like, James, he needs to just chill, take it back a few milligrams.
Is your clock talking to you too?
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the dark and he holds up this device and you don't know what it is because it's so fucking dark. And he says, "This did what it was built to do with disastrous consequences." And then he's standing at Niagara Falls with this water power generator. And he's saying, "Oh, the water turns the blades, which makes this shaft spin. The top of the shaft is covered in magnets, which are housed by and spin within a cylinder that has copper coils on the inner wall. The interaction between all of these things, the spinning magnets and the copper coils, it creates electricity." And it cuts to him outside of the power station. He's holding up a protective relay, a device that he's the same one he was holding up earlier. And he said the purpose of this relay was that when it had a current coming at it that was so strong, it would cause an explosion in the electrical system. It did what it was supposed to do. It turned off the electricity coming and going from this area, and that led to this consecutive cascading of electrical failures throughout the East Coast and into Canada. That was the late 80s blackout of the East Coast. And he in episode 10, he says, "How can you guess what will become what? Aerosol spray leads to atomizing fuel for an engine. The electric gun..."
Which is what we talked about in a previous episode,
Yes.
which was like the perfume atomizer
Yes.
led to carburation.
Yes. and then the spray of the fuel into the engine.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He says the electric gun was this little glass gun that they would use to test if air was dangerous or not, that had these two little coils, and the electricity would leap from one coil to the other, and if the air was bad, it would explode and shoot a little cork out of the gun.
Jesus Christ.
And
That's how the guy from The Crow died.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right.
That led
Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee's.
That led to the spark plug.
Oh.
Water wheels lead to gears. All these things together, you can make a car.
Mm-hmm.
Like a jigsaw, these pieces come together. What will
a
we
jigsaw
have?
puzzle, pal.
Not the killer from Saw.
I want to play a game.
Or the saw.
Yeah, or the saw. And he goes in and he says a few different things about inventions in the future and inventions as they grow and into the modern world. And one thing he says is, something eventually everyday life becomes inadequate because the experts invent new words to explain things only they understand. And the gap between the experts and the normal people grows.
Yeah.
And with the gap of knowledge between those two, what fills that is emotion.
Oh my God, that's so interesting.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Dude, that's really good.
Can we break that? Can you break that down? Because I don't know.
This is I'm going to take my takeaway.
Okay, I asked Matt, but you're good. No, please, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm ready to be wrong.
I'm ready for you to be right.
This is what I heard. So what I hear is something like, I don't know how to do something, and somebody else does. And then in the middle of that, it's like, it's not me just going to learn it and figure it out. It's me feeling like inadequate or feel fearful
right.
or, mythologizing the thing. And
but it could also be. It doesn't have to be negative emotion.
No. It can be because then I'm.
You could love Elon Musk or something.
Exactly. Right? I'm going like those people that can do that are so good.
Right. You can idolize Thomas Edison, but you realize he's a prick.
All right. But you can look at these guys like, oh, it's magic, and you're like, well, no, it's not. A lot of things.
Or even there is the hypocrisy of certain people who distrust science, but they're posting about it on Facebook
as if they can explain
how the IP relays work. Like you're using science to
to bolster
to shit on science, right?
Yes, and then it's very what he talks about after that. It's very much in that vein where he says things become harder to fix than before. Things can only be created by smaller groups than before.
Right.
It's harder for more people to know what these objects are. Even if someone against these things broke into the place where they were being made, they wouldn't even know where to begin destroying stuff because they would have no idea.
They just start upper decking the toilets.
That's right. You got to start somewhere.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, and I don't want to get too far down this because it's a far bigger discussion. But there's that thing about monetizing from invention, and then keeping it private and not sharing, and not putting it out to the marketplace of ideas.
Right.
Penicillin.
And I mean, but in a modern equivalent, like something like Bluetooth. Everybody agrees it's bad technology, and it's one thing that is taken off that's kind of protected, and there's probably a better one waiting out there, but it's not. Those people aren't going to get money from it,
right?
You know what I mean?
Sure. No, I know. Yeah, I know.
But I mean, it's still magic.
Yeah,
Bluetooth is still magic, and they've upgraded a few times, and it is.
But you know what I'm saying? That the better thing could have got there faster if it wasn't protected behind a name brand thing.
Sure, and to the credit of Elon Musk, he did open up all the patents for Tesla for all their charging technology.
Oh, okay.
Which is
something.
It's a good business move too.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's the idea of intellectual property.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
is very murky.
That's going to be, and that will also come up. So keep that in mind. And so Burke says, so what do you do with
A phone.
When he says, do you stop the change? Do you throw away all the technology, live like cavemen?
Yep.
Do you decide what change will be allowed? Do you decide what change will be allowed by law? Do you just accept that the world is changing faster than we can keep up with? And he says, technology has always caused problems, but technology has always solved them too, right? Does it ever cause problems that can't be solved?
Yeah.
And also with our as we evolve with these technologies and as we get further away from the understanding, and the last thing I'll say is I think this is a pretty good. I use so many good analogies, but he said in the Middle Ages, water was creating power. You only had to put your hand in the water to understand
Why
the power
it
source.
was, yeah.
By the Industrial Revolution, you had to understand steam power, air pressure, mechanical engineering.
Still water.
By the end of the...
Good call.
But you couldn't just put your hand in it.
This is burned.
But you had to understand steam power, air pressure, mechanical engineering. By the end of the 19th century, you understand scientific theory, physics, chemistry.
Right.
20th century, electronics. Today, of course, crypto.
I don't think anybody.
He didn't say that. But so with all of those thoughts that Burke was putting forward in mind, we now return to the story of Thomas Midgley Jr. Because Thomas Midgley Jr. knew that tetraethyl lead wasn't the only solution to engine knock. Ethyl alcohol also worked just fine, just at a different ratio. Instead of 1 to 1,300, 1 to 10 alcohol to gas ratio would work the same for engine knock. But ethyl alcohol couldn't be patented by GM.
That's right.
Tetraethyl lead could. And Midgley calculated that...
Why?
Because they invented it.
Oh my God.
Because anybody could make alcohol.
And also, what year?
This is 1924.
So there was also prohibition.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, interesting.
But there's also, because of prohibition...
Which is not, I think ethanol is actually alcohol. Ethyl alcohol is a different type of...
Yes, but also because of prohibition, way more people knew how to make that shit than ever before, too.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I smell the conspiracy, folks.
Midgley calculated that General Motors could
I don't know if it's speakeasy or a gas station or
Rock hard.
Whoever comes is...
So General Motors insisted, I don't know if they insisted or Midgley, who knows, but they could patent tetraethyl lead. They couldn't patent
Ethyl alcohol.
So in order for them to sell their gas, Midgley calculated that General Motors could make 3 cents on every gallon of lead gas sold.
That's when gas was 5 cents a gallon.
Yes,
Right,
I mean,
but,
right.
But also, I mean, and this is me, I'm not like, oh no, the fucking ozone or whatever. Even though it, of course, that's factual. But also, like, how much?
That's his other invention, CFCs.
Yeah, well,
that's what does the ozone.
we're not.
How much is the extraction cost?
Well, see, that's also the thing. They could make the quantities because they use such a different dilution. They needed so little less tetraethyl lead.
They would need a larger amount of ethyl alcohol.
Yes, so they're saving money on that part too.
Right, but they can just make alcohol so much easier, right?
But maybe it costs as much, or maybe the amount they had to make would have cost more than one drop.
I feel like the patent might be the crucial factor.
Well, I mean, it was absolutely, because no one else had this product.
Yeah.
Anybody else could have made the no-knock gasoline with the ethyl alcohol in the gasoline.
Crazy.
And according to the article in the New Scientist, what I should also add, there's a University of Pittsburgh medical article that by Rebecca Sloot from 2001 that'll also be using this section. And there's a New Scientist and New York Times Magazine article. But according to the article in New Scientist, Midgley insisted that the gas be called ethyl gas and not lead gas.
Yep.
Because, well, he knew something of the side effects. In 1923, shortly before he was appointed the vice president of General Motors Ethyl Corporation, Midgley turned down an invitation to the American Chemical Society, writing to them, quote, After about a year's work in organic lead, I find that my lungs have been affected and that it is necessary to drop all work and get a large supply of fresh air.
And I've got a mercury in my eye.
And he wrote to a friend of his, he said, the cure for said ailment is not only extremely simple, but quite delightful. Means to pack up, climb a train, and search for a suitable golf course in the state named Florida.
Wow.
So you get a slightly different sense of what this guy is thinking. Ethel Corporation. All of the advertisements here. I'll pull up some of the.
I think I have old like gas station memorabilia that say, Texaco, Ethel gas. Like it's part of the.
That's it exactly.
Ephemera. He knew it was.
It's because people knew, the Romans were putting lead to sweeten wine. There were lead in the cups, and that's why people were all fucked up.
Yeah, here's an ad from that. Knock shirt makes them hot. Next time, stop at the Ethel pump. Right, here's another one. G-pop, they're all passing you. Next time, stop. These are all Ethel Corporation.
You need some lead in your pencil, Daddy, because all these guys are cucking you on the freeway.
Yeah,
they must be running home to Mom.
Oh, dude, Ethel's hot.
Yeah, there's
she looks like a Jessica Rabbit type.
But like you're saying, Aaron, Texaco.
Texaco Ethel. I think I have one of those fucking signs in my garage.
Yeah.
And so in none of these advertisements is the word lead mentioned at all. So some thought was put into this, right?
Weird.
No.
Thought?
Yeah. I mean, kind of like in a way where it's like, Yeah, I mean, did people?
My doctor recommends camels.
Yeah, people were still fucking around with fucking mercury and shit. Like it's not as if they would think.
Well, I don't. They weren't fucking around with mercury like they used to, and also when this when the lead was starting to be used, there was one scientist. I don't think I have it here, but he basically said hey, the fucking roads are gonna be lined with lead oxide. This stuff is gonna go everywhere.
You can make the roads indestructible.
And Midgely himself is saying, look, I can't go speak at the American Chemical Society, my favorite society, because I spent a year working on lead and I can't breathe.
Plus polio.
Not yet. But, so that was 1923, right before he was appointed the vice president of the Ethel Corporation. In 1924, production of lead gas began at a DuPont factory in New Jersey. New Jersey had already did
they wouldn't have any chemical disasters later.
Yeah, or before.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you explain that? What?
Well, later they would have 3 Mile Island.
Right. But also, the factories in New Jersey were kind of, in this area of New Jersey, were infamous for just exploding and...
Oh, it was just like all Edison country?
I mean, just in general, just being bad for everybody involved.
I think it still is.
I mean, the land is probably still poison.
God damn.
So production of lead gas begins at this factory in New Jersey, DuPont factory in New Jersey. 18 months later, 1925 New York Times investigation is titled Tetraethyl Fatal to Makers.
Jesus.
And it paints this picture. It says, quote, 8 workers in the DuPont tetraethyl gas plant at Deepwater near Penns Grove, New Jersey have died in delirium from tetraethyl lead poisoning in 18 months, and 300 others have been stricken.
Jesus Christ.
And these weren't just... I mean, one of the ones that died was a 37-year-old that had been working at the plant since they were 12.
Fuck!
And because these were dye plants that were then converted to
death plants,
tetraethyl plants.
Yeah.
One of them was a janitor who had just really bad shoes and had soaked it up through their feet.
Oh my dear God.
80% of workers, according to the article, including people just went there for just to repair stuff. 80% of workers had some sort of symptom related to lead poisoning. And this is from the article. One of the early symptoms is a hallucination of winged insects. The victim pauses, perhaps while at work.
Whoa. They hallucinate winged insects?
Yes.
Yeah. Like pink elephants
So is that?
Delirium tremens is also mentioned in the article by the spokesperson for DuPont, who says... I mean, it's kind of just like that.
It's kind of like delirium tremens.
It's kind of like they're just drunks.
Right.
It's basically, I can.
But they're not drinking. They're working.
Yeah, but here's something interesting: is is there maybe something to widespread lead poisoning through history, going back to the Romans,
Sure.
Probably.
to fairies?
Yeah, perhaps.
Interesting.
We'll have to look that up on our own time. Anyways, just something I thought I had that's very interesting. But specifically winged insects as a hallucination because of lead.
It's kind of good in a way too, because like you go like, if you've been through it already, you go like, oh shit, he's talking about seeing the winged insect.
Ah,
Like,
fuck. He's
Well,
lead poisoning.
he's starting to get whatever I've got. Like,
So it's not so simple. Logic goes out the window, John.
okay.
One of the early symptoms is hallucination of winged insects. The victim pauses, perhaps while at work or in a rational conversation, gazes intently into space, snatches at something that's not there. From the New York Times article in 2023.
what you swatting at?
Homo.
Actually, no,
fairies.
I can go back to the original article in 1925. So some of these guys, there's stories, one of them goes violently. They can't. So what happens for a lot of these guys? They start having insane nightmares. Then they have insomnia. Then they become incredibly violent, and they get sent to the hospital. They get strapped down. Uh-oh. There's one story of one guy who strapped into a bed. He was a strong man and was lifting the bed 3 or 4 inches off the ground while strapped to it. Multiple of these guys tried to jump out of buildings.
Wow.
One of them jumped off a ferry to commit suicide. One of them jumped out of his hospital to commit suicide. He was caught. They had to be placed in straitjackets or strapped in their beds. They would convulse. One of the nurses in the article in 1925 says there's a guy. He just held his head back rigidly, and was just in fear of his life. His pupils were dilating.
Oh my God.
These guys were going insane. The hallucinations of the insects gave them between. Everybody, the workers and the people who knew the workers, called this factory the House of Butterflies.
Oh,
Jesus.
God. It's like the Joy Division. What a fucking misnomer.
That's nice.
I mean, they saw the butterflies.
God, dude, yeah, that's like a thing where you go like, you know what? Let's lock it. We'll lock it for the night, and then we'll never come back again. Mm-hmm. House of Butterflies?
Yeah, we're
people
just
swatting that thing.
Dead inside.
Yeah, dropping fucking wrenches down
Oh my God.
staircases, fucking swatting at some fucking shit.
We are so lucky to live in an age where death can be painless.
Can be.
It can be. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you get hit by, let's say you have a devastating car crash. Within a few hours, you're going to feel nothing. They're going to dope you up with,
Right.
Before that, before World War II, before morphine,
I know, dude.
death was always painful.
Well, in this time too, they're
Unless
getting
it was-
they're getting into really crazy experimentation. So it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, bad. Death is,
Generally not popular.
I think it's one of the most popular things of all time.
Yeah, everybody's doing it.
Yeah, everybody's done it. I feel left out.
From the 1925 article, it says that an official of the Ethyl Gas Corporation said after the janitor was named Sim Jones, and after his death, the person from the Ethyl Corporation said, tetraethyl lead, which is the DuPont company, which the DuPont company is manufacturing on a commercial scale and which is reported as the cause of the recent unfortunate accident at the Bayway plant of the Standard Oil Company, should not be confused with ethyl gas, an improved motor fuel which contains less than 1/10 part of 1% of tetraethyl lead. So it can't be. Look, don't confuse the production of the lead, which we know is terribly poisonous, with the fuel,
With the final product.
which contains less than 0.1%. Now, we don't know what happens to that less than 0.1% once it's kicked out of an exhaust.
But it's not the same as this.
No, it's not the production of the lead.
That is such corporate obfuscation.
Oh, I mean, and there.
I remember just a real quick thing. Early 2000s when I drove for FedEx, and there was we had to do diesel,
Mm-hmm.
and then the guy I worked for, he had a glove for pumping.
Yeah, smart.
And he was just going like, yeah, dude, he's like, fucking, just from the pump, like, not the Arnold pump.
The pump. Imagine me always
just from the pump and like your daily
exposure.
Your daily work shit, it's like dudes have just fucking pieces of their hands taken out, like surgically, like just from being exposed to regular old diesel on a daily basis.
The guy who invented diesel fuel is also worth a profile. We should, the diesel engine rather.
He was a wrestler.
No. He was a porn star, Shane Diesel.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I was wrong.
We'll get to him another time. I'm sorry, but very interesting about diesel fuel.
Also, again, from that worker at the corporate PR person said, in the past several months under full production, only slight difficulties have been encountered. We find that workmen cumulatively poisoned by this material invariably indicate it in the incipient stages before any harm is done. The paper, the New York Times, noted immediately after that, in the past several months, quote, to which Mr. DuPont referred to as causing, quote, slight difficulties, there have been 3 deaths.
Those are slight difficulties.
Yes, they are. They can be. You can work around those. And the different PR person goes on to say, it is a fact that we have a great deal of trouble in inducing the men to be cautious. We have to protect them from themselves.
I mean, these guys don't follow the fucking rules.
They'll fucking dunk their heads in the tank. I mean,
they got somebody sitting on a platform. They're throwing wrenches at the thing to dunk them in the fucking fuel. These guys are fucking out of their mind. Circus freaks.
This is like the time where you have, what I would say is the best of organized labor riots.
Yeah.
Where somebody's like in a booth over there and they're going, yeah, go down there, it's fine.
Oh, the guy who's up above in the catwalk. Yeah, you guys stay down there.
No, right down there. Go, yeah. And you're going.
It's like when the dentist gives you an x-ray and they go hide in a red-lined booth and they go.
Yeah. It's all good, dude. Yeah.
No, it's totally healthy. You wear this bulletproof vest and I'll hide in the next fucking building.
Yeah, so then, you go like, no, it's all good, but I'll be back here.
Yeah.
And you go like, no, it doesn't sound right. Okay.
Turn into fucking Bruce Banner.
Along those same lines, the spokesperson continues saying, some of them drew pictures of butterflies on the walls of the plant. This disease is somewhat like delirium tremens. Instead of seeing snakes, the men see butterflies. It's
hey, butterflies are better than snakes. We can all agree that
it's as simple to solve as alcoholism.
No, which is also just not solvable at all. Like, and I thought it was pink elephants. Not snakes.
That's what's on the bottle of delirium tremens.
Well, I mean, it probably is, who knows. And again, the spokesperson says that
they make it a class thing in that too.
Oh, absolutely.
They're alcoholics.
Yeah,
well,
exactly. No, these workers, they're fucking idiots, man.
These guys,
we hire the dumbest people.
You know these guys that get everything done for us so that we can get what we need?
Yeah.
They're like,
less than.
Yeah, they're like, funny.
Yeah. Or they even the spokesperson says
they have a fucking elbow growing out of their forehead.
See, told you it was funny.
The gasoline got the nickname loony gas, and the spokesperson said that's deceptive because that people are saying that about ethyl gasoline instead of the tetrayethyl lead. It's the loony gas name is supposed to be for the lead.
Well, yeah.
Not the gasoline.
It's supposed to be for the price.
The price is so loony.
Crazy.
I'm fucking mad.
That's what they call it in Canada. Loony gas.
The guys that manufacture this stuff are nuts.
Yeah.
They have no idea about cost and fucking profit. They don't know anything. They fucking swat around to butterflies. These guys are actually nuts. They are actually fucking wily.
So after this comes out, reporters ask Midgely they ask him, hey, so what do you think about this? He responds by taking out a small bottle of tetrayethyl gasoline, and he rubs it on his hands, and he holds the bottle under his nose, and he says to the reporters, I'm not taking any chances whatsoever.
He just
The man
he goes,
who,
anybody got a fuck? Anybody want to fuck?
Wait. Go ahead.
He huffs.
the guy who 2 years before
Said it was bad.
said, I got to go to Florida. Here's a fun little anecdote. I got to go to Florida and golf and I'm fine. Is telling reporters, look at this. Not a problem at all. I'm sniffing it.
He's whipping out a
fucking
bottle
eating
of
this shit.
poppers. Gonna get
but
fucked.
has he become demented by it? Is that why he's like,
No, I think
love
he's
it.
a company man.
Yeah. And he's probably making, half a cent off every gallon of the 3 cents that they're making.
Yeah.
Because he's the vice president of the Ethyl Corporation.
I'll
which
tell
is-
you this: he is a lot more dedicated to his cause than those
Those Ace Chemical guys.
those those city council people that say they'll drink the water in Flint, but then they won't.
No.
When the farmer shows up and says, "I pulled this out of my tap,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Oh no!" But this guy's actually huffing the poppers.
He's actually doing it.
Will you piss in it first, sir?
I saw that thing. He's good.
In 1925, the Surgeon General of the United States, he forms a committee to hold a public hearing about the possible effects of lead gas.
In what year? I'm sorry.
1925.
Fuck.
Probably after this New York Times article came out.
The failing New York.
Kettering and other industry folks, they face off against physicians and scholars. The industry folks win. And then the next 4 decades, almost all research on the health effects of lead gas are conducted by employees or contractors of the Ethyl Corporation.
God damn.
You don't say.
And they're publishing, you guys want to take a guess what they find with their publishings?
No negative effects.
They were all butterfly coloring books, and because everybody at the company was fucking out of their minds.
It turns out it was the mating area of the monarch butterfly.
There was actually there was a season of overabundance of butterflies in the area.
What I think is
they were attracted to the pungent smell of the gas.
But I think what happened was it was before
Pheromonal.
it was before my cocoon time. Before I turned into a tycoon.
I was a cocoon, but then I became a
But then I
tycoon.
became a tycoon, and you could see.
Now I'm a raccoon.
Now look, now
see in the dark.
Now I'm something of a monarch butterfly, and of course I rule over all my people.
All my people with elbows growing out of their foreheads and whatnot.
yeah.
But what we're saying is the gas is safe.
Now the thing about me is, what they did was create me, something of a Mothman, so I can tell you
I
that
prophesied that profits are going to go up.
profits are going to go up, and then
Macho Man.
about 60 years later in Pennsylvania, a bridge is going to fall down.
And is that, I think, what, cherry chapstick in your pocket? That's a
I'm wrong.
Mothman Prophecies reference for 4 of you out there.
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
I never saw it.
John, you've never seen the Mothman Prophecies?
It's very weird that I
Have you seen the Mothman
I don't think
Prophecies?
so, no.
Good movie, Richard Gere.
No, I love it.
It's got like that like Rust Belt working class. Kind
Yeah.
of zoo. What do you call
Zoo?
cryptozoology?
Cryptozoology. It's an urban legend type of thing based, and I think it was like
It's one of
not Barry Levinson.
One of these guys up there going, you don't
the
want
guy-
to
who's
take
the-
the
who's the-
bridge guy.
Who's the director that did I'll Melt With You?
Oh, I don't know, but I love that movie.
I think that same director did the Mothman Prophecy.
Fuck out, really?
Get the fuck out.
Okay.
No,
Let's
don't look it up. Yeah.
No, we'll do it at the break.
Let's go.
How about that?
So,
I digress.
So, just getting back to it, for 4 decades, until mid 60s or so, most of the research on lead gasoline was done by the Ethyl Corporation. From what we know today is that toxic lead levels are defined. Today, they're defined as 10 micrograms of lead per 100 milliliters of blood. A child having over 10 micrograms of lead is more likely to be dyslexic. They're more likely to drop or flunk out of school. They're more likely to be arrested. Lead affects neurotransmitters responsible for nerve conditions. It causes leaky capillaries. It kills brain cells. It affects RNA
God damn it.
transmission.
It makes you more susceptible to Magneto's attacks.
That's right. Higher blood pressure, slow growth, premature birth, and more. Every time we research what lead does to people,
It's
we
worse
discover
and worse
a
and
new
worse
thing.
and worse.
By 1960, lead concentrations in the polar ice caps had risen by 350%.
Good thing they're not melting.
In 1973 alone, 200,000 tons of lead was being blown out of car exhaust in just America.
God damn it.
Fuck! By 1960, 20% of inner city children had blood levels of 40 to 50 micrograms of lead. And that was okay at the time by
those standards.
And we chose to blame them for being black.
Yeah.
Not because they had lead.
Yeah, and just not because they have a fucking goddamn exhaust pipe hooked up to their fucking AC.
And today it is 10 micrograms is the level where things become toxic. And even today, 21% of inner city children have levels over 10 micrograms. They are still being poisoned by lead in other applications.
Dude, and never mind like brake dust.
Right.
If you live near a freeway,
which we all do.
I don't. Actually, I do.
Yeah, you fucking do if you live.
But I'm high up.
I'm further away than I used to be, at least.
If the brake dust
I guess.
is so
Right.
much more asthma and all sorts of health problems. It's just like,
and
fuck.
So
that is fucking insane, bro.
with Midgely here, that's just the lead.
Oh, we took it.
That's just the
We
lead.
gonna get into freon?
Do you remember Midgely's the thing I said his pitch with the in front of the reporters with the lead gas? Mm-hmm. He did a similar thing with freon.
He huffed it, and his voice got real high.
In order to prove that freon was non-toxic and non-flammable, because like Kettering said, this man was a salesman. In a meeting with the American Chemical Society, he huffed from a bottle of freon
and then sucked every guy's dick in the room.
and then blew out a candle, which so it's not
Did it
flammable.
blow it out?
Jesus
Did it
Christ.
blow it out, or
Yeah.
did it light everyone on fire?
No, because it's non-flammable. It blew out the candle. So
Good. It's non-flammable. It definitely means not dangerous. Wink.
well, it means it won't blow up your factory.
I suppose, yeah.
Frigidaire marketed their Freon-powered fridges by saying, "Pursuit of health and safety led to the discovery of Freon," which is really good marketing. Electric refrigerators and electrical air conditioners became standard. Both would allow large swaths of people to move to places previously uninhabitable by people trying to live the American lifestyle, Arizona, etc.
That frontier shit.
Yeah. In 1941, chemists at the Department of Agriculture used a Freon variation called Freon 12 as an aerosol propellant. The U.S. military then created bug bombs to protect troops from insect-borne diseases. We say we lost the Philippines because of malaria.
That's
we have to
why.
find a way to kill all the insects. This led to the aerosol industry, which used Freon in everything from DDT to hairspray to any sort of fucking thing. By 1970, the National Academy of Science estimated that at the current rate of CDC production, these chlorofluorocarbons would destroy 50% of the ozone layer by 2050. By 2065, 2/3 of the ozone layer would be gone. If you were at a mid-latitude city in Washington, like Washington,
DC?
or something like Paris, if you were outside for 5 minutes, you would get a sunburn. With that little ozone.
But fortunately,
It also would have added 1 degree of warming to the planet.
Celsius.
Yes. But in 1987, 24 nations signed the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer, and the ozone layer has now been
replenished naturally.
replenished. In the 1970s, there began a global phase-out of lead gasoline that is estimated saving 1.2 million lives a year.
If you ask me,
Jesus
I think we could have
Christ.
done without those extra lives. But ozone layer is good. I mean, tell me, are we becoming overpopulated?
Okay, but you're saying the 1.2 million people can all go?
You root for Thanos.
Yeah, it's a terrible take.
I'm not saying Thanos was right.
He wasn't.
He was not.
No, but he also was not.
You can't follow that up with anything.
No, I am saying he was wrong. Especially if you have the Infinity Gauntlet, why not just double the resources?
Right, but also he's not real, so he was not, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Thanos was not.
Yeah, he was not.
Of course.
Yeah.
But this shit was real, and I don't think that the 1.2 million indiscriminate were, necessary.
All I'm saying is that the ozone layer has been naturally rectifying itself because
So it's all good.
No, it's not all good, but the phase out of CFCs has had a measurable impact.
Which is good, yeah, because we were going for broke for a minute.
Fuck yeah, man. Yes.
The Ohio River was on fire and shit.
That's fine.
There's a couple things that I've been thinking about with this, and one is, with the lead gasoline, Midgely very clearly knew that he didn't need to do that, and that it was dangerous, and he still went ahead with it.
Yeah, now there's lead substitutes that, like for my 1967 Chevelle, it was designed to run on leaded gasoline.
Yes.
For certain parts of like the valves and
because they knew the owners would be mentally handicapped.
People that were like, fuck the 1.2 million.
No, it's just,
I'm a killing machine.
It was just what it was designed. It benefited from the lead and the gas because of the things you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
with
it's
the valve.
loud and it kills people. And that's what you like.
Dude, it slays pussy. That's what it does.
I know.
Slays.
And people.
Oh.
It doesn't kill anybody.
Children,
man.
asthmatic
Dude,
children in their
I'll tell
cribs.
you what. More fossil fuels are
Premature birth.
More fossil fuels are put into building a new car than it is to keeping my old one running.
Every time you rev that car.
That's a good point.
Thank you, John.
That's a good point.
Keeping it. Hey, old shit still works.
Yes, no, it is. It's
How many fucking African kids had to die to get the lithium for your battery in your Prius? Okay, pal.
well, he doesn't have a Prius.
I'm talking to the hypothetical pal.
The hypothetical pal. Okay.
The hypothetical.
Hopefully it's a girl.
But they make for vintage cars. They do make lead substitute additives that have the same benefit of decreasing knock and ping.
Well, I'm sure they didn't have that back then.
Well, because of this fucking cocksucker you're doing now, he wouldn't.
It's kind of a good point.
Well, no, but that doesn't refute any point.
It doesn't.
No.
It's a good profile.
The thing we're saying is basically like.
I haven't finished my thought about what I was saying about.
Okay.
We'll finish it.
All right.
Waiting.
Thank you. Because there were these two things I thought were very interesting differences. It's almost a dichotomy between the two. Lead he knew was bad,
Right.
Yes.
but he went along with it for probably the profit and.
And he was maybe disinterested. He was probably rating it. He's trying to make refrigerators next. Like, yeah, I got one thing.
Yeah, he moved
on from it.
Yeah.
Right.
and
Tires.
And that is more of a straight line to the problems it created.
Right.
Now the freon, I don't think there was any way for him or anybody at the time to necessarily know what it might do to the atmosphere or the way that it would take off.
It was a miracle. It was enough of a miracle with downstreams. I'm sorry. It was enough of a miracle that any downstream effects were so far away that they were almost unimaginable.
But it
To
is
keep shit cold like that was so fucking important that whatever possible downstream negative effects were...
And the invention of freon allowed people to eat healthier and eat better.
Eat fresh food.
And also, air conditioning.
Saves lives.
Probably good. Yeah. And so there's a lot of good that was done, probably more by the freon than allowing people to drive around.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt.
The freon saved more lives than the gasoline did.
Absolutely. I would. And yet the freon was so destructive, it took 24 nations to solve.
Right.
But the destructiveness of the freon became so apparent that
So
24
fast.
nations agreed on something
Right.
and immediately phased it out. And in the next 30 years, the ozone layer is like, you can go to Australia and not wear as much sunscreen.
That's
hole,
fascinating.
The hole has
the ozone layer is back.
Yeah.
Lead
It's
still,
back, baby.
Lead is still in people's lives in various ways. One of the doctor that it's Dr. Needleman that
mainly bullets in school children.
Yeah, the doctor at the University of Pittsburgh article was about was a guy Needleman who had worked at a factory and in New Jersey and went out for a smoke break as they always did in these factories. And the factories would have like little shacks in a field that had like lit cigar and cigarette lighters, just like always running.
Oh, good.
And,
Like the kind in a car?
no, kind of, yeah, but just like on the wall.
Oh, cool.
And they would light and they would smoke. And there was a group of people he worked with that were like crazy. And he was like, hey, what's up with those guys? And someone goes, hey, they worked at the House of Butterflies.
No shit.
And so he did this whole reason, and he spent the rest of his life working on studies about what lead was doing to people.
Dude, that's...
But he was a doctor, and he said when he was a young doctor, at first he didn't realize how much lead actually affects people. Because someone brought their kid in, he said, your kid's suffering from all this lead poisoning. You know, you got to get out of there. And the mother goes, how do I get out of there? I can't just go.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for me to go. I can't afford to get out of there.
Yeah.
And so that's when he saw that the way the systemic, how deep that lead had run.
It's so weird too, because like it is, I think, like you were saying, it's tied up with this thing about progress.
Mm-hmm.
And us, especially in America, being isolated from lessons in a way.
Yes. Yes. I mean, racially, yes.
So it keeps us in this thing too, where it's like, you know, that test of just because somebody says it's okay, it means, you know, just do it. You know, it's like you just trust that there's people better educated and more knowledgeable than you.
Right, because of that gap. Right,
because of that gap. And you know, it's a thing where you go like, oh, yeah, well, there's people that know better than I do.
Right.
And you just keep accepting it and keep accepting it. And then...
But then there's also another contingent of people in this country that are, those people don't know shit.
Right.
Yeah,
but that really came out of this era.
Right. When they go, oh, they said lead was good for it. Yeah, it is. It's a backlash against the
everybody said
mistake of the very few mistakes of science.
Yeah. But they were, I mean, they weren't even mistakes of science. They were mistakes of the market.
Yeah, or of greed or individuals.
Yes, the market telling you,
of
like,
corporation. Yeah.
Hey, this shit.
Yeah. I mean,
because eventually science gets to. I mean, science showed us that lead in gasoline eliminated knock, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then science showed us that lead was horrific. Right, so the
yeah, for the human brain, it was a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah,
and then I mean, what time did we start seeing the unleaded gas?
70s.
In the 70s.
And so then, what else was fueling it? I mean, I don't know if you know this, but to also get rid of the engine knock and what other synthetic things were like happening in there that were not
octane, right?
I mean, I don't know exactly what it was, but they were able to make more synthetic high octane gas without the lead. Through various other compounds because, you know, it'd been 50 years.
I wonder if it was also just a cheaper product then too.
What was?
Unleaded gasoline.
Probably.
Was unleaded cheaper than leaded?
Yeah, to manufacture for them.
Fuck, I have no idea.
Well, I mean, whether it was cheaper or not might not have actually mattered. It was
the
rule.
public being this shit's got to go.
Well, I mean, it was probably the government.
Yeah.
Saying it.
Was it under Nixon with his EPA shit?
I honestly, I don't know. It didn't come up in any of the articles. But I mean, the New York Times article, you know, talked about things like long-termism.
Yeah.
The how aware of the long-term effects, and one of the things they talk about, which I think is interesting, and maybe we should talk about on the Patreon, is, and also ties into Oppenheimer.
The movie comes out this July by Christopher Nolan's approximately 3 hours in length.
When you know, when these giant bombs, there's that one bomb, the hydrogen bomb, I believe, where they're like, it might cause the entire world to catch on fire.
Yeah. They
should we even do this?
It might set the entire atmosphere on fire, and they said, let's roll the dice.
And I think it's very much like what James Burke was talking about, where he goes like, so when do we say pull back on your ideas?
Yeah.
Even though you're all supposed to push us forward with your ideas. When will these ideas destroy us? And with Midgely, there's the very, you really wonder, was the suicide, did he ever actually have an inkling of what he had actually wrought? Or was it, I hate being a guy with polio for 4 years?
Yeah, that's
Maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe, yeah.
I would say so.
I would think that if I were him, I would say the polio was God's wrath upon what I had done.
I would like to think so.
And then I would continue to live and gain sympathy for my polio.
I would like to continue.
Here's my thing. What is the time frame where I guess he gets the polio, and then he wouldn't receive the award?
Well, no, I mean, he there wasn't any moment where he didn't receive the award. He didn't go to that conference.
The conference, yes.
He didn't go to that conference. That's 1923.
But he knew.
But it wasn't for an award. He was just saying, I won't be there.
But you kind of were implying that like he didn't go there because he knew he was doing some fucked up shit.
No, he said. I mean, he wrote to them. He didn't go there because he was sick and he was in Florida recuperating from the lead.
Right.
Not necessarily that he had done anything wrong.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
that implies he did do something wrong. Then.
Well, yes, but the belief that is being presented by him and that New York Times article, the spokesperson is saying, "Look, we know lead is bad, but the gas isn't."
Right.
Right.
And maybe
because the gas is only 1 in 1,300 parts.
And for all we know, maybe he actually believes that the gas with its 1 to 1,300 ratio isn't bad. That's what they were saying.
You can believe your own bullshit.
Yes. And even though, and at the same time, the people who work in the scientists, there are scientists going, it's going to spray lead oxide all over our roads. There's going to be lead all over the place. This is really bad.
Because then when it rains, it gets into the water.
Yes, and there are people saying that, but Midgely, maybe as a guy who's going like, I'm around it every day, when it's in high concentrates, then it's bad. Yeah. And there's a whole thing in the article with the New York Times 1925 article where they talk about, we used to bring the tetraethyl lead and then the gasoline, both of those separately to the gas station and mix them there. And we found that was bad. So then we mixed them somewhere else and brought them there. We found that was not also great either. So then even they are going like, oh, well, I mean, clearly something's not right.
Yeah. There's smoke.
But at the same time, they all knew they didn't need to use tetraethyl lead.
They could have
used ethyl alcohol, but it wasn't patentable.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have made
him
as much money.
It's all about a paycheck. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like,
the man, he's appointed the vice president of the
people marching to their
corporation.
fucking deaths just because it'll make these people some fucking money up there, man.
Right.
That is and then getting the guy to go along with it to be like, look, I have
a law.
And talking yourself into being like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm sniffing it.
And I got fucking tiny legs.
And
could be worse.
I get falling for the narrative that works best for you.
Oh, absolutely.
And you wanting to be like, okay.
Yeah. You do wonder though, did he go, did I deserve polio? Was he
Catholic?
Did he ever? Probably. His dad was an Englishman.
What year did he kill himself?
1944 or so. 44, 45, something like that. Yeah, I think it was 44.
Good year to go.
Yeah. Born in 89, died in 44.
Yeah. What's his timeline like versus FDR?
Who also had polio. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. Yeah, it's like a thing where
pretty simple. I mean, they died within a year or two, within a year of each other.
Yeah.
But one of them was they both killed lots of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, with different reasons.
Yeah. And oil was a factor in all of
both of their lives. Yeah.
But I mean, FDR did have the thing too where he intervened on the side of the unions at the.
Yes,
he did.
That's
the WPA.
That's a big fucking thing too. Like,
yeah, Midgely.
There was a big socialist arm of executive stuff that
he almost passed the new Bill of Rights. He was so progressive that these fucking scumbags tried to overthrow.
They government. Yeah, I mean, he also put a bunch of Japanese people in Manzanar.
Yeah,
that's true.
And he told Orson Welles he did it for their safety, whether you believe that or not.
I understand that marketing pitch.
Yes.
But
You'd be hard pressed for the Japanese people there to go.
I
thank
feel
you.
safer here.
Yeah, thank you. It really means a lot.
yeah.
Thanks for looking out for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also there was a thing too where like, I mean, you really didn't hear too much from Japanese families that were in those
Well, of course not.
places too, being like, I mean, after like even you.
I mean, they didn't get
you-
gassed to death, which is good.
You probably,
George Takei lived there for a minute, and then he went to fucking space, so it couldn't have been that bad.
you probably would have if there had been more robust news coverage of it. Or
No, I'm saying in ensuing years later, like.
well, no, I think you have. I think you have.
I'm sure
I
there
have?
was bad. Listen,
No, not you specifically.
there were bad stuff. The bad stuff happened, but
Yeah.
I don't know if.
They lost all their. I mean, all their fucking houses. They lost all their houses.
Yeah,
No,
they put freeways there.
I do,
Yeah,
I
there's that
do
too.
kind of get it too. I'm sure even like German families in like the Midwest probably had some.
Well, that's one of the things he.
Hate
One of the
crime
things
stuff.
one of the things he told Wells is that he did it because in St. Louis they were hanging Germans.
Fuck, really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah, no, the U.S. likes a good hanging.
We love a good lynching.
It's not even. Yeah, I mean, like, good is not the operative word, but yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, I thought you guys might enjoy a little mix up.
I love a good history. I love a history of automobiles,
but
scientific
it-
folly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, I mean, just so much like at the crucial point of mass industrialization.
Yeah, and very important, now that you mentioned it, like the car and the fridge, very important things for the
Yeah,
U.S.
I mean, two things like post GI Bill, you were kind of expected to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A car in the garage and a fucking
A refrigerator
fridge
with
in
a
the
frozen
kitchen.
goose in it.
Straight
Yeah.
sun.
Straight, like
straight.
leave it to Beaver fucking style, but yeah.
2 cars in the garage.
Docile daughter and a straight son.
That's
Yeah.
right. And a dog who brought you your paper and slippers in the morning, and
Yeah.
a wife who did whatever you wanted.
And,
But it's-
who was impregnated by the dog.
Hey,
Yeah. And the mailman.
if you're lucky,
This is a Harvard.
if you had a purple heart.
Is this a Harvard family?
Yeah. The milkman was one of those 4F guys.
The milkman cometh.
And your third kid was the milkman.
Yeah, that was great.
That's good.
I think it's a super, super weird time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this, it's a very
finite thing where you're,
pivotal time between the industrial age and the modern age.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
You're
And
going
the-
from like the Superman idea.
the Ubermensch?
Yes, the Ubermensch idea, and then like the thing of being like, okay, well,
We split the atom.
but we also overreached, and not everything that's new is necessarily good.
Better living
Yeah.
for chemistry. That was DuPont.
Exactly.
right?
Better living. It's we split the atom and we segregate the races.
No,
It was a very, very strange time.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully we learn from it.
Hopefully.
I think so.
I think we all learned something today.
I think we did.
Let's do a Patreon next.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna
Let's
say
call it.
goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
And I'm Aaron Pita.
That result.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.
Starburns Audio.